Hello friends, today we are going to discuss on the topic in mathematics which is called as integers. Now this topic I have chosen because there was a lot of demand, a lot of requests from students and many others. So it is on popular demand that I am taking this topic of integers today. Okay, let's get started with the basics of integers. Okay, so the subsequent higher ups of integers we'll take up in the next class. To begin with, what are integers? What do we mean by the word integer? What do we understand? To understand the word integer, I think we have got to go a little behind. Okay, so we need to start from the number system. Okay, so I'll just start with the number system. You must have noticed that there are various kinds of numbers which have been given different names, like what? To start with, we normally begin with the counting numbers. Okay, when you want to count something, you start with the number 1. You want to count about a couple of things which are 10 in number. You start with 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these counting numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So these numbers are called as, apart from counting numbers, they are also called as natural numbers. Natural numbers, okay? Now, this is the first type of number, first category, okay, under the number system, right? Now, what is the second type? The second type is, supposing if I add 0 to these whole numbers, okay? Whole numbers, as we said, are counting numbers. Now, supposing we add 0. And so on and so forth up to infinity. Here also it goes up to infinity. Okay. Then what are these numbers called as? These numbers are called as whole numbers. Whole numbers. Okay. Correct? Now, if I go back a little more and add the negative numbers to this, right? Like what? Like these, okay? Infinity to this side and infinity to this side. It keeps going on either side, okay? So in the middle you have 0. From 0 to the right hand side we start with 1, 2, 3, 4 and goes on and on. Now from 0 we start to the left hand side called -1, -2, -3, -4. Starting from 0 we go to the left hand side, okay? And goes on and on till minus infinity. So from minus infinity to plus infinity. So these numbers are called as integers. And this is what we are going to study about today. Okay? So to begin with, to give you an idea of what integers are, I just took you through all these things. Okay? So these are called as integers. So this is the one we are going to study, the basics of integers. Today's chapter will be only on integers. So now you know what are integers. Okay, and supposing I include the fractions in these. Okay, so like any number which is in the form of p by q, where q is not equal to 0. Okay, those numbers are called as rational numbers, which includes all fractions in between these, half and 0, 1 and 0 and 1. You have half, you have minus half over here. Okay, 2 and 3 you have in fractions. Okay, so those are called as fractions. So these up to infinity, all such numbers which include everything are like all these fractions are called as rational numbers. Okay, now after this we include all the other numbers like surds, square roots, irrational numbers. Okay, so next set is your irrational numbers. The last one would be the real numbers. So after this we have irrational numbers. Then we have real numbers. I'm not going into the details of all these things because this was already taught to you in earlier classes. You already know it. Okay, I just took this to give you a background of what are integers, to explain you what integers are. So for this I just gave you a sort of revision just to revise. So basically we have so many, in the number system we have so many kinds of numbers. We have natural numbers which is denoted by n. Okay, we have whole numbers which are denoted by w. Now we have integers. Now some books denote these integers with z. Okay, and some books write it I. It depends. So now we have rational numbers in the form of p by q. We have irrational numbers. Then we have real numbers. Okay. Now let's go back to integers. Okay, on the number line, how do you represent integers? This is the number line. Okay, how do you represent? This is 0. To the right of your 0, right side of your 0, you have positive numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Okay, to the left of 0, you have the negative numbers, -1, -2, -3, and so on and so forth to minus infinity. Okay, so 1, 2 starts only from 0, either this side or this side. Okay, now this is called as representation of integers on a number line. Correct? Now, let's try to see how do we, in arithmetic, you must have known by now, there are 4 operations. Okay, what are those 4 operations? Plus, minus, multiplication and division. Okay, so these 4 operations, how do we, use these 4 operations while dealing with integers? That is what we are going to learn today. Generally, when we add real numbers, you do it 2 and 3. I mean in natural numbers, sorry. In natural numbers, when you add 2 natural numbers, 2 and 3, we know all natural numbers are only positive. Okay, from 0 this side. So, how do you add 2 plus 3? You get 5. And remember, both are positive. Correct? we don't have negative. Only when somebody says subtract and gives you out of 7, subtract 5, remove 5, okay, then you do it like this. You get plus 2 over here. Okay, but more than that, this was simple, which we already know and we did it earlier. But apart from this, suppose you get numbers like -7 and -6. What do you do? Or you get numbers like -5 plus 7. Then what do you do? So there are 2 rules which I am going to give it to you. Follow those 2 rules and you will be able to solve problems like these. Okay. So under integers, the rule 1 says that when 2 numbers have the same sign, then add the numbers and put the same sign. Example. Can you think of an example? Okay. Suppose if I give you 7 and 5, they have the same sign. Okay. What do I get? What does it say have the same sign? Then add the numbers. So when 2 numbers have the same sign, 2 numbers have the same sign, plus and plus, right? Then what do we do? Add the numbers, it says, and put the same sign. Put the same sign over here. Like suppose if I have -8 and -6. Then the same rule applies here. When 2 numbers have the same sign, the sign over here is same, then what do we get? Then what do you get over here? You get, again add the same number, then add the numbers and put the same sign. So add the numbers. Although you have -8, you have -6. Both of them got the minus sign in before them. Okay, but still add the numbers and put the minus sign. So is this clear to you? So when 2 numbers have the same sign, then add the numbers and put the same sign. Whether they are plus or minus, if the signs are both equal in both the numbers have the same sign, either plus or minus, then add the numbers and put the same sign. Okay? Is that easy for you? Correct? Now next, we have a second rule which says when 2 numbers have different signs, then what do we do? Then subtract the numbers Okay, so this rule says when two numbers have different signs, then subtract the numbers and put the sign of the greater number. Example, let's take an example. Okay, now two numbers have different signs. It says I'll take 7, I'll take minus 4, plus 7 and minus 4. Now they have different signs. This digit 7 has got the plus sign and the digit 4 has got the minus sign. So this rule says when two numbers have different signs, then subtract the numbers. Subtract the numbers. 7 minus 4 is what? 3. And put the sign of the greater number, plus 3 with it. Okay? Supposing I take it the other way around. If it is 9, minus 9 and plus 5, then what? So two numbers, 9 has got a minus sign, 5 has got a plus sign. Then what do we do? When two numbers have different signs, then what do we do? Then subtract the numbers, okay, and put the sign of the greater number. So subtract the numbers. 9 minus 5 is what? 4. And put the sign of the greater number. Which is the greater number here? 9 is the greater number. What sign does 9 have? Number 9 is the greater number and it has got the sign minus. So we'll put the sign as minus. So this is how we do it. So this is how we do operate the numbers, okay, under addition subtraction. Okay. So based on these two rules. The first rule says when two numbers have the same sign, then add the numbers and put the same sign. I gave you the example. I showed you the example. Second rule says when two numbers have different signs, then subtract the numbers and put the sign of the greater number. I gave you the examples. Okay. So now we know what are integers. We have understood what do you mean by integers and how do we operate these integers under the addition and subtraction. When we need to do an operation under additions and subtraction. This is how we operate. Okay. Now coming back to multiplication. Now, when we have a multiplication sign, what do we do? Okay, how do we operate integers? Now we have 4 rules under multiplication. So multiplication of integers. Okay, so what do we do? Multiplication of integers. So we have to follow these 4 rules. So minus into plus will always be equal to minus, and plus into minus will always be equal to minus, and minus into minus will always be equal to plus, and plus into plus will always be equal to plus. Okay. So these rules if you follow, then you will be able to do the operation of multiplication under integers. Let's take an example. Okay. Supposing if I say minus 3 into 4, what do I get? This is minus 3, this is plus 4. When there is no sign, that means it is assumed that it is plus. Okay? That is always the case. So minus 3 into plus 4 is what? Minus into plus. What do we get? Minus. So we multiply the numbers and put the minus sign. Minus 12. I'll give you one more example. Okay. So 7 plus 7 into minus 3. So we have got plus and minus. We have got plus into minus. Is what we get only? Minus. So plus into minus is minus. And multiply the numbers. 7 3 are 21. 7 3 are 21. We get 21 over here. But sign will be, because you have a plus and minus, you got minus. So when you have different signs, you put the minus sign over here. Okay. But if you have the same signs, you put the sign plus over here. Right? I'll give you one more example. On these two. Suppose if you take 4 minus 4 into plus 3. What do you get? Minus 4 into plus 3. So minus into plus is minus, but 4 3 are 12. We get 12 over here. When it comes, multiply the numbers as it is. 4 3 are 12. But when it comes to sign, minus into plus. So minus into plus is what? We get minus. So it will be minus 12. Okay. Similarly, if I have 6 into minus 4, so this will be plus 6. So 6 4 are 24, right? But sign plus into minus. So plus into minus is minus. So when two numbers have different signs, we get the minus sign. When two numbers have the same sign, we get the plus sign. Okay? Now, coming back to these two. Okay. Now, supposing if I take an example of this, minus 7 into minus 6 is what? 7 6 are 48. Sorry, 42. Sign minus into minus is what? We get a plus sign. Okay. So 7 6 are 42, write it there. Then sign, when it comes to sign, minus into minus follows this rule. When two numbers have the same sign, after multiplication, then you have to put a positive number. Okay. Similarly for this, if I write 4 into 8, you have plus 4 and plus 8. So 4 8s are 32. So sign plus into plus plus. So both the numbers have got the same sign. We have to put the same sign, plus. When both the numbers have the same sign in multiplication, we put minus sign. If they have minus sign, then also you put a plus sign. Whether minus or plus, whether the signs are same, then you always use plus. Correct? So under multiplication, so these are the rules you have to follow when it comes to multiplication of integers, under the operation of multiplication of integers, when you are multiplying integers. So this rule you need to follow. Okay. The same rule applies when you are trying to do a division. Alright. So based on these, we can do some problems. Then that makes it easier for you. Suppose if I say solve, okay. How do we do this? This is under not multiplication, but this is under addition. Okay, so we have only plus and minus, addition and multiplication. Okay, so multiplication will come later. So under addition and subtraction, what did we do? What did the two? I told you about the two rules. Okay, so what does the two rules say? When two numbers have different signs, what do we need to do? We need to subtract the numbers and then put the sign of the greater quantity. So here in this case, minus 7 plus 3, if I do it first, what do I get? Minus 4. Subtract the numbers and put the sign of the greater number. Okay, then I'll solve this first, then I'll come back to this. Okay, so minus 2 and plus 6, what do I get? 6 is the greater number. We have two different signs. When you have two different signs, subtract the numbers and then I'll take this as plus. When two numbers have the same sign, add the numbers and put the same sign. So plus 8. Right? Now here you have different numbers, 8 and 4 with different signs. Okay? So when signs are different, one is a plus, positive, the other is a negative. So what do we get here? What does the rule say? Subtract the numbers and put the sign of the greater number. Right? 4, and then sign will be plus. This is how you're going to do it. Correct? If you do it directly also, okay, so 6 plus 2, 8, 8 plus 3, 11, 11 minus 7 is about 4. Either ways you get the same answer. Okay, so I showed you under the operations of addition, subtraction. We can similarly do problems under multiplication and division also. Okay, so I think the problems will take up next time. I think I'm running short of time. We'll continue with this chapter for the next time. Right now, we'll stop here and thank you. Okay, so next time when we meet, I'll clear some more of your doubts, whatever you have. You can be ready by that time. Okay, thank you and see you then. Take care. Bye.